Good evening. Welcome to CSB Academy Current Affairs Bulletin. Let us discuss today's news with respect to prelims perspective and mains perspective. The first important news today: Andhra Pradesh governor have given his assent to three capitals bills. So, Andhra governor have given his assent to the bills dealing with three capitals. Andhra Pradesh Governor Biswabhushan Harichandan today have given his assent for Andhra Pradesh Decentralization and Inclusive Development of All Regions Bill 2020 and also Andhra Pradesh Capital Region Development Authority Repeal Bill 2020. And the case is sub judice. Though governor have given assent for three capital formation, the Andhra Pradesh High Court, the cases are pending in the Andhra Pradesh High Court. And according to the recent bills, Vishakhapatnam is the executive capital, Amaravati is the legislative capital, and Kurnool is the judicial capital. And in our academic interest, we should learn two articles here. One is Article 200. Article 200 deals with governor's assent to the bills. Article 200 of the Indian Constitution deals with governor's assent to the bills. In the same way, Article 197, Clause 1, Clause 2 are also very important. Article 197, Clause 1, Clause 2 deals with passing of the bills in the Legislative Assembly and Council, particularly restrictions on the powers of Legislative Council as to the bills other than money bills. So, we are expected to study Article 197 and Article 200 before understanding this concept of Andhra Pradesh governor's assent. Coming to the particular bill, three capitals bills. First time the bill was introduced in the winter session in the Legislative Assembly, and the Legislative Assembly passed all the bills and sent it to the Council. And the Legislative Council have sent that bill to the Select Committee. So then the government got angry on the Council because Council immediately have not approved for that three capitals. So the government of Andhra Pradesh wanted to actually abolish the Legislative Council. And again, as you all know, it takes a long time. It is not that easy. We cannot abolish Legislative Council overnight. There is a process according to Article 169 of the Indian Constitution to create or abolish Legislative Council. Again, this three capitals bill was introduced in the budget session and passed in the Legislative Assembly and went to the Council for the approval. Before the Council gives its approval, actually it was prorogued. Both Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council were prorogued. You all know prorogation will be done by the governor. And after consultation with the legal experts, now governor have started this governor have completed this legislative process of giving his assent to the bill. But it takes now we need the approval of the judiciary, particularly High Court of Andhra Pradesh. It is going to deliver its decision on this issue, and only after that we can understand what might be the consequence of this. Let's wait and see. Next important article yesterday, July 30th is the World Day Against Human Trafficking. July 30th is the World Day Against Human Trafficking. This is very important. Victims who are world trafficking, who are the people who are actually trafficked in the world, and who are these victims? Generally, victims are trafficked, so they undergo human trafficking for domestic servitude, sex trafficking, forced labor, forced marriage, organ harvesting, etc. So July 30th is the World Day Against Human Trafficking. And why do they undergo trafficking? for domestic servitude, for sex trafficking, for forced labor, for forced marriage, for organ harvesting, etc. In Indian Constitution, Article 23 abolishes human trafficking, beggar, and forced labor. You have to remember Article 23. And Article 21 allows us and grants a right to live with human dignity. You all know that Article 21, right to life and right to human dignity. Right to life, right to personal liberty, which includes right to human dignity. And we also have an act in India, Immoral Trafficking Act, Suppression of Immoral Trafficking Act. Now it is called Immoral Trafficking Act. Bonded Labor Abolition Act 1976. Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. In India, we can find a large number of human trafficking issues in West Bengal, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. Generally, will have lot many human trafficking issues in these states in India. Next important news: Donald Trump, through a tweet, Donald Trump by his tweet have suggested to postpone American elections. He wanted to postpone American elections. But is it easy for the Trump to postpone it? Can the Trump alone do it? No. No. Trump suggested postponing the American elections, which are to be conducted, which are going to be conducted on November 3rd. And Trump said email votes, mail votes are not correct. No voting by mail. Mail votes are fraudulent. Fraudulent. And Trump tweeted that delay in the elections will help people so that they cannot actually expose to COVID virus. Several state governments in the US now they are contemplating to conduct the elections in the mail-in voting system. In the mail-in voting system because of COVID virus. And but Trump don't want this mail voting system, so he wanted to postpone the elections, but it is not so easy because November 3rd, the date is decided by the law. November 3rd, the president's election date was decided by law. And under 20th Amendment of the American Constitution, the present president's term will be over by January 20th, 2021. Before that, new president should be elected or Trump might be re-elected. So unless there is an amendment to the American Constitution, which is not an easy task now. So it is not in the hands of Trump to postpone American presidential elections. It's a beautiful thing which you should understand. And today we have, next point, today we have 6th BRICS meeting held in Russia, and Indian environmental minister and all the BRICS nations environmental ministers attended through video conferencing. Our environmental minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, spoke about sustainable development goals, air quality index monitoring system, and other things. You all know BRICS is very important group. It comprises 42% of world population, 18% of global trade, 23% of GDP of the world, and 30% of the territory of the world. And BRICS is very important group, upcoming group, and a very good system where the most important countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they are partnering in the BRICS. So the BRICS environmental meeting is very, very important. It was held virtually today. Next important news. As you all know, the political and the constitutional crisis that is going on in Rajasthan have become a never-ending saga from last 1 month. Today, Rajasthan Chief Whip approached the Supreme Court against the Rajasthan High Court order. Uh, Rajasthan High Court recently issued an order to the Speaker of Rajasthan Legislative Assembly to stay on the MLA's disqualification in the anti-defection law. So Rajasthan High Court have issued a direction recently to the Rajasthan Speaker, Legislative Assembly Speaker, to stop his anti-disqualification, anti-defection proceedings in the House. And on this, party whip, Rajasthan Chief Whip went to Supreme Court against the High Court order. against the High Court direction. So this is the issue. In this issue, you should learn who is a chief whip. Who is a chief whip? WHIP. This word chief whip or whip appears in 10th schedule. Party whip. The word whip appears in the 10th schedule of the Indian Constitution. The term whip is derived from the old British practice, whipping in, which the lawmakers should follow in a particular time. So they should follow their party dictums. A whip is a communication between, a whip is a direction between in party and the party's legislators, a party system and a party's legislators. And a senior member in the party who is a legislator will be appointed to communicate the party directions to the party's members in the house. So, if you don't listen to the party whip with respect to voting and other things when the house is going on, anti defection law will apply to you. So, party whip is very, very important. In India, all parties can issue a whip to their members, and parties can appoint a senior member from among its party's legislators to issue and communicate the party's directions or party whips. In the parliamentary form of government, whips of various political parties play a key role in communicating the major decisions of the political party. So, this is very important. Rajasthan's chief whip went to the Supreme Court against Rajasthan's High Court order. And today, one more news Hindu paper and all papers headlines. India now has fifth highest COVID 19 fatalities in the world. And more than this, World Health Organization said, today World Health Organization Director General said, coronavirus impact will be felt far into the future. The pandemic is a once in a century health crisis. Once in a century health crisis. And the effect of COVID will be felt in the decades to come and on the generations to come. Not only health wise, economically, psychologically, and we are going to see a new world order internationally also in the post COVID era. WHO already warned. We are going to have the repercussions of COVID crisis in the decades to come. What a, 2020, the year 2020 have seen such a shocking thing that are called COVID virus, which is going to impact the world in the decades to come. That is WHO's warning, World Health Organization's warning. In this respect, every day from last 4 or 5 months, World Health Organization news, you are expected to study WHO mandate, WHO functions, WHO funding, all these things. And America wanted to come out of WHO. America already started its process. Even this is important. And today, ISRO uh, conducted a press conference. ISRO is going to allow private sector to set up their own launch pad in Sriharikota. ISRO will allow private sector to set up their own launch facility at Sriharikota. And private sector, they can launch their own rockets or spacecrafts. ISRO is not going to charge anything on this. See, in self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, even before that, we are trying to include private sector in space activities also. And ISRO is also working to share its expertise with the private sector, by giving some technical support to the private sector wherever it is needed. Department of Space is already in the process of setting very important organization. It might come in films. What is INSPACE? INSPACE. This is a very important thing. Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. INSPACE is Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. It's very important. This INSPACE is going to encourage and promote the private entities in the space sector. Encourage and promote the private entities in the space sector. Next important news. Recently, UNICEF released a report. One third of the world's children are poisoned by lead. Recently, UNICEF, a UN specialized body, that is United Nations Children's Emergency Fund, have declared that one third of the world's children are poisoned by lead. And why this lead poison? Uh, Approximately 800 million children in the world, and half of the children who are exposed to lead poisoning are in South Asia, and majority of them almost in India. This is a thing. And this lead poisoning is a lead is a highly toxic metal and is a very strong poison. Paint making industry, vehicular pollution, batteries, lead batteries. So with all these things, mining industry, even through water. So some effluents in water might also cause lead pollution. Recycling industry, open batteries, open battery cases, break open battery recycling industry, battery recycling industry. So they all expose our children to the lead poisoning. And lead poisoning is the worst thing which we can expect. It will affect physically and mentally children, physically and mentally. And the next important news, the big news today. Next important news, very big news. China says its navigation system BEIDOU now have become fully operational. China is celebrating its BIDAO. China is celebrating its BIDAO. Now China is thinking that it can easily compete with America's GPS. It can easily compete with America's GPS. It is going to improve China's security and geopolitical clout. It's going to improve China's security and geopolitical clout. BIDO navigation satellite system is a constellation of 35 satellites. BIDO navigation system is a constellation of 35 satellites, and they are into two constellations. 35 satellites into two constellations. And what is the advantage of BIDO for China? First thing, all the countries which are in BRA, China's Belt and Road Initiative, approximately 100 countries can access this. And BIDO have high degree of accuracy. BIDO have high degree of accuracy that is similar to America's GPS. First of all, you should understand BIDO is similar to America's GPS, Russia's GLONASS, European Union's Galileo, America's GPS. Russia's GLONASS, America's GPS, European Union's Galileo, and China's BIDO. BIDO have high degree of accuracy, and it also offers short message system short message system, and it will also help China to guide its missiles. Even BIDO can guide Chinese missiles. So there's a lot of news about BIDO today, and China is celebrating. Xi Jinping commissioned this BIDO today officially, and you need to learn other navigation systems across the world. Other navigation systems across the world. For example, in America it is GPS. It have constellation of 24 satellites. In European Union, it is Galileo. It has constellation of 24 plus satellites. In Japan, it is Quasi Zenith. Quasi, QUASA, Quasi, ZENITH. It's a constellation of 4 satellites, and they are going to be increased by 7 satellites by 2023. In Russia, it is GLONASS. It's a constellation of 24 plus satellites. In India, it is Navik or IRNSS. It's a constellation of 7 satellites. In China, it is BIDO. It's a constellation of 35 satellites. So you need to understand this news. BIDO is very, very important for exam. So these are the important news, and the PDFs with all these things I have prepared. You can go to the Latha CSP IAS Academy Telegram channel. You can get that, and also you can have the same news in Telugu, same current affairs in Telugu at 9:30 every day in my Telugu YouTube channel. And thank you very much.